Welcome to our next episode of
Fandom
Family
Chats.
This is a production of Family Fan Clubs on Facebook. You can find us all over Facebook. You can find us all over social media under Fandom Family Chats. Look us up, get dialed in, get plugged in, and get ready to listen to some crazy people talk crazy stuff.
Hey guys, welcome back to FFC. I'm Maureen.
And I'm Jeanette.
I'm Amanda.
I'm Eve.
And we are back with the episode you've all been waiting for, the final Newbie One Tree Hill review. Final. This is it now. We're discussing 8 and 9 today, but we want to let you know what's coming up for our new year. Our schedule's going to look a little bit different as we try to match when all the release dates are coming out. As we told you before, we're just with our current shows that are currently running on network TV. We are going to be doing an episode covering the premiere. We're going to do an episode covering the mid-season, and then we're going to do an episode covering the finale of the season. But as the strikes have ended, all these shows are coming back, not at the same time. So it's gonna look a little different as we get adjusted to those schedules. But coming up, we do have those are coming up for you. I think the first one end of January is what the Chicago's.
Chicago's come out
January 16th.
Mid-January. So
Okay, so that'll be your first premiere review. Will be the Chicago shows, and we'll get that to you the week after it premieres. There's also, we're trying to wrap up some of our current streaming binges like My Life with the Walter Boys and Sullivan's Crossing. Good shows, great shows. Watching those, get caught up, as well as quick reviews on upcoming shows like The Bear we'll be talking about sometime soon here, and The Way Home, which will be returning January 21st. So we want to make sure we get you that before season 2 comes out. But this is all going to happen before our premieres for our shows return. So stay tuned for those and all of those fun things. And now we're going to dig into season 8 and season 9 review and final recap, and final review of the entirety of the One Tree Hill franchise from me. I mean, everyone else has a review and a grade they'd like to give it overall, but I've never given mine because I've never done this before. I do have to say, not because I was like, oh, this sucks so bad, but when I hit that last episode, I was like, oh, this is it. Thank you. This is because I've been doing nothing but watching One Tree Hill, and that is it. I would like to branch out.
And the opposite reaction. I was like, oh, this is it. Like,
I always get
again.
sad when they start playing One Tree Hill, and I'm like, oh no, this is it. It's the end.
But do you guys usually watch a season a week?
When I get into a binge, absolutely.
Yeah, it happens.
I may not go through the whole show like we've done, because I may just do
Same.
my favorite seasons.
Same. I skip around.
Yeah, but
see, that's what was hard for me. I couldn't watch anything else. I had to watch this to do the podcast. So it was like, I would really like my husband.
A negative thing.
It is, because my husband would come up and he's like, do you want to watch something? No, I got to watch the show. Okay, I'm going back downstairs then. So that was,
it's not, I gotta watch. It's
You're welcome.
I get to watch this. It's like a privilege. It's not a punishment.
Again, it's not that I hated it. I was just so glad to be able to watch other things.
I can understand.
That's really it. Although I do have things to say about these seasons. So as we usually do, we're going to dig into new characters first. There wasn't a lot in season 8 and 9. Wasn't a ton of new characters. There was Ted Davis. Nope.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was in
9. Someone changed his name. I wrote Papa Davis. Someone must have written his name in there.
Yeah, I fixed his name for you.
I said who?
I couldn't remember his name, so I just wrote Papa Davis. So the Ted threw me off. But yes,
there's Daddy Davis.
I started writing that. I was like, wait, nope. I know what they're gonna say, so I deleted it and wrote Papa.
I mean, after that shower scene, I told you I was not expecting to have that reaction.
Was so funny for him to be talking sweet nothings to Victoria, and it was Brooke right there.
I mean, I'm just saying, because I know that's in season 9, but I've watched this show many times. Now that I am a 41-year-old woman, this was the first time that I was like, oh, Daddy Davis is kind of fit. Am I now that old?
Very good shape.
I think I'm closer to his age now than I am everybody else. So it makes sense.
Yeah, because everyone else is in their 20s. Their dad's got to be 50?
But I really like to pretend that I'm not 41 years old, so I really don't want to think about the parents,
And it's easy to do with the show because you started watching it when you were in your 20s, so you could just be like, "Oh no, I am the same age as them." So it's,
yes, because I am.
Change, yeah.
The good news is we're close in age to the actors.
Exactly.
We're close in age to Sophia Bush,
which is we're the same age. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
I can't picture her anything older than 24. She doesn't look older than
24. She's aged a little bit more gracefully than I have, but that's okay. That's okay.
How does she look so young still?
She doesn't look like when you look at pictures of her from like when they did like the little things like they flash back from the last episode of what they looked like early on. Like she didn't change.
It's the hair that changed. That's it. The hairstyles
Yeah.
and the way she wore her clothes. That's all that changed.
That's it.
But
Her
she's
face looks the
very
exact same.
she's
Yes.
very like she takes very good care of herself,
Yeah.
like skin
Clearly.
wise and makeup
mean,
wise, and like
I think
eats
I do
healthy
too.
and like
Right. Come on.
I don't know what's going on with me.
I feel like time has cheated me where it just blessed her.
and guess what? She's got a lot more money than we do.
That's
That's a
it.
lot.
That's the only difference right there.
Secret.
Mhm.
We just need to be
I
rich.
bet I can look
That's
good
it.
too.
Let's
if
do
I
it,
had a lot of
guys.
money.
Let's get wealthy. There was
Good
also
plan. Good plan.
there's also Davis and Jude, and I love that's the twin boys that Julian had, and I love that they gave a little part of both of them to them.
Mhm.
Jude obviously for Julian, and Davis is obviously Brooke's maiden name. Okay, is it now Julian Davis and Brooke Baker? Because it like he said hello, Mrs. Baker, and she said
I think
hello,
they were-
Mr. Davis. Like
I think they were just joking. 'Cause
Okay.
I think she's still Brooke Davis. I don't think she changed her name. I mean,
She said if anything, she was going to hyphenate it. So I don't know what she
Okay.
ended up doing.
Is that-
Someone in the career that she has, I can't imagine she would
no.
be changing her name, or at least, I mean,
yeah, it's
because
built
people
on her
would
name.
change it legally, but like to everyone, in the world, she's
Mhm.
known as Brooke Davis.
Yeah, there's a lot of actors who do that.
yeah.
But does it bother anybody else that she named him Davis after herself after Peyton had named Sawyer after herself?
Well, but Jamie is also James. So all of the girls did
why?
this. All of the girls did
Why
this.
did
I mean,
they all do it though?
I don't know. I guess
The
I didn't have
writers
a
ran
last
out of
name.
the writers ran out of ideas for character names. They were just like, Brooke Davis, okay, her baby can be Davis. There
I
we go,
think it's
done.
fairly common. Like I even joked that like Elena's even joked before how like she wants to name her kid Hudson. I'm like, well, I mean, because that's like a name that can go to like a boy. Like
Mm-hmm.
my maiden name was Peters, so like if I wasn't unless I was gonna name my kid Peter, like no, like I couldn't do that.
In Regency times and before that, that's what they would do. The mother would like if I'm going to use my favorite literary character of all time, Mr. Darcy. His first name is Fitzwilliam because that's what his mother's maiden name was Fitzwilliam. So that became his first name. That was a common practice that the woman would give their child in order to carry on their name in their family line. That's what they did. So I mean, I didn't. It didn't bother me that they had the last name. I thought
It was kind of funny that they all did it though. I will admit
Yeah.
that. I'm
Yeah,
like,
I
okay.
don't
without
hate
discussing it.
I think Davis is a really freaking cute little boy's
Mhm.
name.
Mhm.
Like
I
don't
didn't
get me
connect
wrong,
Jamie
but-
with James though because I often forget that Haley was Haley James because she was only that for like a season.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's
So I
James
forget.
Haley Scott.
Well, she's always been Haley James Scott.
Hmm.
See,
But
I
also
never remember,
Mrs. Scott is what you hear a lot. You never what?
I never remember that Jamie's, real name is James unless I'm saying the whole thing. James
Oh, it
Lucas
is.
Scott. It's
Scott. Yeah.
James
either
Lucas
Jamie-
Scott.
It's either Jamie or James Lucas Scott. Like
You're
those are
right.
his names.
I just said I forget the correlation between Jamie and James, but it's because I was thinking his name was Jamie, not James. Okay, I get it now. Now it seems a little more weird. I thought they each gave a little variation.
Do we realize that this is like the one show, and I don't know if it's just me that knows this, like I know all of the characters like full names, like middle names too. Like are we all like is everyone else as obsessed that like because you've got Nathan Royal Scott,
Haley Bob.
Haley Bob, you've got Lucas Eugene Scott,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't
there's
know. I
Brooke
forgot it's
Penelope
Eugene.
Davis, and then Peyton Elizabeth Sawyer.
Where do you find Brooke and Peyton's middle name? Where do they discuss that?
They say it.
All the time.
All the time.
Really?
They call each other that all the time. Yeah.
They call her P. Sawyer. She calls her Brooke calls her
will-
P. Sawyer.
Brooke will
Sawyer.
say Peyton
So-
Elizabeth a lot. And
The thing
I-
is,
Well, she'll call
Peyton
her.
says-
They'll call her. Brooke will call her Sawyer PE. Sometimes, but
I
it-
never caught the second E. I thought it was like Sawyer P.
But it is mentioned that her middle name
Oh.
is Elizabeth after
I
her
missed
birth.
that.
because
I
it's
think
after her
it's-
mother.
Oh yeah. Where do you hear Brooks?
Brooke Penelope Davis.
yeah. The thing
Like,
is,
I
though,
can hear
we've
it in my
seen this
head.
show so many times. So even if they only say it twice, we've seen it
Oh,
6
okay.
times. That makes it 12 times for you.
And
know
that
what I
makes me
mean?
feel
Like-
less like a bad observer because I
Like,
didn't catch
we-
that at all.
And even Sawyer is Sawyer Brooke like Scott. So she's
know
got Brooke
Lydia's
as her
middle name.
Lydia's is Bob, right? Yeah.
Because that was
I
funny.
don't know Jude and Davis's.
I don't think they ever say. But I
don't
didn't think they
think
said
so.
Brooks either.
I don't know that was ever mentioned.
So we
I don't
have,
think Julian's either.
I thought that was cute. And Lydia, I did think that they aged her real fast. Lydia's the other
They
one who we
did.
get this year. Like they
Yeah.
did like multiple time jumps in one season, and I was like, wait.
It's
She's
hard.
like,
It was hard to keep up with
They
season
had
into
a
season
time-
8.
Season 8 finale. Fast forwarded a year.
Mm.
Like
oh, it
full
did.
year
That's right.
was
From the previous
Maybe
episode. Yeah.
So I mean, she would have been that old, assuming we're
Mhm.
taking that time jump into account.
That kid is cute.
She looks just like Nathan. Like
She
I think they did a good
does.
job of getting like a James lookalike to be
Mhm.
Lydia. Like
Mhm.
Yeah.
it looked like that could be his kid, in my opinion.
Yes. Yes.
So cute.
We also meet Erin in season 8, who is
Mhm.
the Irish singer who
Mhm.
I didn't.
Useless, pointless.
Yeah. I mean, her voice is
Yeah.
beautiful and she's actually a singer.
Sure.
That's what she does for a living,
Sure.
actually. But her character had 0 point to
She's
the show.
much like Miranda and Grubs. They're really unnecessary.
But I feel like she had less of a point than Miranda and Grubbs did.
She did. I think it was just a side story, just to
I would-
show Haley's.
Yeah, I was never a fan of them bringing in these amazing singers and songwriters that they practically had to like get on their hands and knees and beg them to record with
Mhm.
them, only for them to just like disappear after like
Yeah.
half a season.
And that was like a 90s, 2000s thing to do. Like they even did it, they started to do it at Gilmore Girls at one point when they were in college. Like they'd have these bands come on when they went to spring break. They had these bands come on, and
Yeah.
it was I remember Buffy the Vampire Slayer always had like bands playing at their bar. So
Yeah.
that
I
was
think
a
that's
very
because like
annoying-
MTV and
yeah,
like,
exactly.
TRL, that was also big back then. Like
Yeah.
music was
Yeah.
a bigger
That's true.
thing
Mhm.
back then than it is.
Yeah,
just
video
wish it
killed the
is
radio
now,
star,
but-
so it was all, they were getting all their music from TV, so it was a very big
Mhm.
deal.
Yeah.
I guess I just never understood like okay, because then later on we have like Alex becomes like an artist. Like I would have just rather seen that happen sooner, and we could have had more time of Alex being an artist and seeing her sing.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like we got to see her sing what 3 times maybe.
I didn't
it
like that
just didn't
storyline, and
have-
here's why. Because they
either.
gave us the 2 songs and then bye-bye.
Yeah.
What was the point of
Yeah.
having her sing other than to
That's what
release
I'm
her from the
saying.
show?
Like why couldn't she have been like earlier on, like when Aaron, and we could have like developed
Mhm.
that through the whole time. Like I don't
Yeah.
know.
And then send her, because you're gonna send her off on tour when she hasn't even recorded an album yet. What is she gonna sing?
Look, that is my biggest that is honestly that is my only complaint about the way the show ended is Alex and Chase's ending.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I was happy with how they did everything.
Mm.
Alex and Chase, I feel like deserved better. I
Yeah,
feel like
I
they
agree
should
with
have
that.
been in game,
We were
They just
cheated
weren't.
on that
Mhm.
big time.
but
Yeah. There was also Ian, and I can't remember his dad.
August.
August, that was his name. Yes, yes. I wrote Ian's professor dad. That was how I
But then you can say you can talk about August Kellerman too.
Yes.
Skateboarding
The
dog.
skateboarding dog. So we
Love
had
it.
those two. I hated Ian. I ended up, I
Yes.
mean, I knew I was gonna like the professor, and that story was very predictable. Like
Yes.
that was an irritation of mine when he walked in there and he's like, "Oh, I can't believe his dad hit." You watch his son binge drink on the
Yes.
regular, and you didn't think maybe the son did it. That never even
Exactly.
ended. Like you were blown away by this revelation. Why were you blown away by this revelation, Nathan Scott? You
I
are
mean-
not that stupid.
On one hand, you have, August Kellerman, who is a respected, professor at a university, and then you have Ian, who's a party animal.
And has the
Yeah.
respect
So
of no one.
It makes total sense that they would go straight to, Professor Kellerman being the guilty party.
Yeah, and it was because it was in his house. Ian is also in his house at the moment, throwing a raging party. So
Says all the time about how he likes to trash his dad's house and his dad's boat just, to get back at him. So
that blew my mind. I was like, "Come on, you idiots! Come on!"
I
So
know.
that was a
hated this
predictable
storyline.
storyline, and I didn't like. It seems kind of a bummer to me that Nathan's first success. Well, I mean, his first success, I guess, was the quarterback, but the one he fought for actually turned out to be a bust. I was
Yeah.
kind of sad about it, but that's because I'm used to seeing Nathan succeed. So maybe it was good for him to fail once. The other new one is Tara. That is her name, right? Tara. I couldn't remember. It was Tasha, Tara, Terry.
Yeah. And I hate I hate Tara,
I hate Tara.
but I also enjoyed some of the conflict that came from Tara. Like I was amused
Yes.
at times. So as
I-
far as things go, I wouldn't say like I don't know. She's not my favorite character, but she's definitely not my least favorite character. Like, she
It was-
brought some entertaining moments to the show.
It was amusing for sure, but that being said, what was the point of her character?
There
Mhm.
wasn't.
There
If
wasn't
the
any.
main point was to be amusing, then they could have just done something else with a already, with a character that's already there. I don't know why they had to bring in someone new.
Voldemort just probably thought she was hot.
Well, I think her point
Probably.
was to reintroduce Xavier in a more substantial way, but I don't think Xavier needed to be brought back in
Ugh.
either.
Like,
No.
he is.
Could've
I don't
would
understand
love-
why we brought him back.
No, there wasn't a reason to. There was no reason to.
There was none.
They were just desperate for a conflict, and they went back in their wheelhouse and grabbed one that had already happened and brought it back.
Like,
They already had enough conflict in season 9. Like, I don't
So
understand
much.
why they needed to
Yes.
bring X back. Like, that made no sense.
I agree. I don't know if I'd love to meet this man or hate to meet him because I'm not really sure, like the actor.
The guy who plays Xavier.
Yeah, because
No,
like,
I don't
can
want
you
to.
imagine? I think if I was to walk down the street and see him, I think I
right
would
across the
physically be
road.
scared.
I would hit him with my purse and tell him
And
he's a
that's-
bad man.
That's so unfortunate because I bet he's super sweet.
I'd love to meet him and have a conversation with him.
But he legitimately scares me. Like, the other villains, you kind of laugh about him or whatever. Like, he actually scares me. Like, in that scene in that parking garage, the things that he said to her, like, it was total creep. Like it
He
gave
just
me
plays
like
a really
chill.
good villain.
So good.
And I
Like,
also
I
want to know
believe
if
it.
he got to come back, why didn't Jack Daniels get to make an appearance in season 9?
That would have been good.
I think
Well,
Evan
man.
Peters was on to some
He's a little busy.
bigger things.
I don't care.
see. He was on to American Horror Story by then.
That
like-
sounded awful. I didn't mean that Xavier couldn't get better things. That's not what I meant. I just meant that
Well,
Evan Peters
no.
actually was doing bigger things. That's all.
Well,
Oh, it still sounds bad, no matter how I'm spinning
No,
this.
No,
but
it's
you're
o-
speaking
no.
the truth.
we all get it. It's true. He was on American Horror Story. Like,
Yes.
that show's huge, and like,
Yes.
it is. He's a big star. I think everyone recognizes that Evan Peters went places. So
How
it's okay.
funny, again, this is going to sound weird that I just said how funny what I'm about to say, but Xavier played this psychotic crazy, and the guy who played his brother also went off to play Dahmer, also a psychotic murderous.
And that's
Psycho.
not his only psychotic murderous role. I
Should we
mean,
be worried about Evan Peters?
A lot of people think so because he is a method actor.
poor guy. He needs
Whenever
a
he played
rom-com,
Dahmer,
like
like
right now.
he was completely immersed in, like,
know.
he
Can you
knows
imagine?
every.
Ugh.
Like, he lived. Like, he didn't obviously eat people that we know of, but
I was concerned for a
or
second.
murder. But he
little
like
far.
completely
Oh,
immersed,
I suppose
immersed
murdering is
himself.
also something you should be concerned about, not just the eating other people.
True, but I do feel like eating them is taking them a whole new step further. So I mean, like, it's okay.
Kinda, yeah.
When you sit down with a glass plate and start
Whoa,
cutting up your
Nope,
person.
nope, or nope. Anyway, another new person. That was
Moving on.
gross.
Oh,
that
you
was
don't want to
gross.
review Dahmer?
Nope. Ugh. I think Dahmer is Milwaukee, isn't he? Jeffrey
Maybe.
Dahmer's a Milwaukee villain. He's
Maybe.
that's how we raise him in Wisconsin, is to be insane like that.
Yeah, he was in Wisconsin actually.
Yeah, he was in the Milwaukee prison. Ooh. We used to actually, we would meet halfway because my dad lived in UP, my mom lived in Wisconsin. So we do drop-offs. Every time we go past the Milwaukee prison, my parents would say, "That's where Dahmer was." Like, why is this? Why are you like excited about this though?
Celebrity. Yeah.
Anyway, Chuck's
Ugh.
dad, who is not worth even remembering his name, and I don't remember his
No,
name.
I don't know his name.
I
He's
don't
another
think
new
so.
one. I hated how they did that storyline. I think it was a
Ugh.
good storyline to put in there in terms of showing something that happens. I hated what they did with it, and I'll explain that when we get to that part, but I hated what they did with it. The Russian mob is also something that we got, which was,
Love
So
Don't-
out of left field.
yeah. I don't think I was intended to laugh at them as much as I did, but I laughed at them a lot.
Well, yeah.
Also, the one guy who had the 2 wives and 6 kids, and that was like he's like, "Ha, you have 1 wife, I have 2." Like, that's kind of your own fault though, guy. Like, you did that.
Sounds
You made that decision.
miserable to me.
That sounds like a you problem.
Exactly. He reminded me of the guy who played Jeremy on Sweet Magnolias, and I forgot to look it up if that was him.
Oh, he kind of does a little
Mhm.
bit. Like, I don't think it is, but he definitely has that look.
Mm-hmm.
He did, yeah. So I was like, "What?" That's what every time I saw him on screen, I wasn't thinking that you're holding Nathan captive. I'm thinking, "Are you Jeremy though? Like, let me hear how you speak." And so that was
Yeah.
the whole time.
Where's those strawberries that you grew that we love so much,
Yes.
right?
Can you return to the farm, please? There's also Logan. And that was another storyline that irritated the crap out of me.
I
That's
love
Clay's son.
Logan.
I like Logan. The storyline, the way they did it was dumb.
I like it.
It was dumb.
I
All
like
right. So those are the new characters. Those are the only new characters, right? Which
I
is
think so.
like a significantly smaller list than what we've had in the past.
Yeah.
But there's only 37 episodes, right? 35? I can't do
Mhm.
math. 22 and 13, 35.
Yeah.
So we're going to jump right into the plot lines. Brulian, we had the wedding plans. Okay, so, his mom.
Oh yeah.
Julian's mom.
Sharon. Yeah.
Sharon, that's her name. I'm an event planner, right? I do mainly weddings, but I do other events too. But my main gig is wedding planning, and I work with brides very closely, and she is my nightmare. I hate
yeah.
Gosh.
and there is an abnormal amount of mothers like that. So the
Yeah.
whole time she's on the screen, I'm like, I hate you. I hate you. I hate you. You suck. I don't like anything about you. You have no. She obviously got it
She
back.
does though.
But when she
Yeah.
took her to that wedding expo, I wanted to punch her in the face repeatedly.
I think it's funny. I
Mhm.
don't know. It doesn't bother me that
nope,
much.
made
like,
me mad. It made me like visibly mad. Like I
Yeah.
can't. It is because I've dealt with mothers like that. I do not
Oh.
like it. It is
I-
not your day.
I think I yelled "shut up" at the TV far too many times for someone who just lives alone.
Yes, I wanted to be there for Brooke so bad. Like I wish
Poor
Brooke would have
Haley.
hired
She
me.
got
Poor
calling Haley over there, and Haley was no help at all.
Useless.
Like, I didn't
Useless.
at my wedding. That sounds great. She's like, "I love you, but go home. You're not helpful."
A chocolate fountain.
Haley was just pregnant, hormonal, and just like loving everything.
And Haley didn't have a wedding, so she was
I
living
know.
through someone who she could never. Well, actually, she did have the
She
money.
did.
Why did they renew their vows? I wish I would have seen that at some point. I would
What?
have liked to see that. Them renewing their vows with the big
They
wedding.
already did.
With a big. Oh, that's right, they did.
They did. It just so happened in season 3. It happened so long
This
ago.
this is
Yeah.
the problem with watching a season a week. I very
Yeah.
quickly forget everything else that happened before.
It happened in season 3, though. It was a long time ago.
Yes. Oh, that's right. That's when Rachel drove off with Hot Uncle
Yeah.
Cooper.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a
Oh,
big
you just made me
episode.
say Hot Uncle Cooper because I can't say his name in any other way now.
No, you can't.
That's his name.
By the way, Jeremy from Sweet Magnolias is Chase Anderson, and he
He's
is
not the mob guy.
not. But he was in Will Trent in
Ooh.
one
Oh,
episode.
I did. Yep, I did notice that. I can't remember who he is offhand, but I remember
leader-
seeing him.
This is what he's credited as: leader of the Bros.
Oh,
Yep.
Oh.
Okay, I think I know what episode that
I
is.
remember that. Okay.
I remember seeing him be like, "Hey."
Very good. Yeah.
Um. So we have the wedding plans. That was a nightmare, but it became an even greater nightmare because Brooke had to sell her company because her mom and now the mom and Millie, Victoria and Millie teaming up just seemed weird to me.
That was, I didn't like that. Like it sounded like something Victoria would do.
Mhm.
But the fact that Millie did it and kept it from Brooke seemed
Mhm.
really kind of dumb and out of character. That's not Millie. Not
Because
when Millie,
Millie-
unless Millie's on cocaine at the time, which she wasn't.
Mm.
Because
So
she
like,
told Brooke, she said, when Victoria told me what she was up to, I told her no. And said, okay, so you should have told her no and then gone to Brooke
Brooke.
and
Yeah.
said, hey, just so you know, this is what like Victoria's kind of got going on. You may
Yeah.
have to do something. Like, why did she not give Brooke any kind of heads up?
And I think she should have given Brooke a heads up. And what she did say, I did kind of see the point that they made with her afterwards when she said, the reason I did go through that in the end is because I believed in you so much. I knew you were going to make up the profits from what we
Mhm.
lied about. But that's still like, it's illegal, man.
Yeah.
it's illegal.
No
And
matter how
Brooke
you
pays
spin
the
it.
price. Yeah, so-
Well, Victoria did in the end, but yeah.
Well, even still, Brooke still did too. Even
Her
though she was
name.
in prison time, I mean, she lost everything.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I mean,
Everything she built.
And she did it because she's a decent human
person.
being.
Yeah.
And she
Mhm.
did the right thing. I felt when that dad came in, I was like, uh-oh, this is not gonna end well. And so she did sell it. And what really kicked me about it is all the progress they made with Victoria, all of the what is the word I'm looking for? Starts with our redemption. All the redemption they
Yeah.
did with Victoria was ruined
yeah,
with what she said to Brooke when she was in prison.
I know.
It just so did you only change because things were well for you, and when things get bad, you're mean and you
Maybe.
try to
Pretty
hurt her?
much.
Like it made me sad because I wanted to believe that Victoria had fully changed, and I think she
Yeah.
kind of does in the end. But
I think she does. Yeah.
maybe that was a little hiccup, but the things she said to Brooke were so awful. And I don't think they spent enough time letting her recover from that or even making up
agree.
for it.
Yeah.
I don't
It was just
what did
kind of
she
like another
what did she
whatever.
say to her? Something like, I'll never love you. You took this. It was, I don't think she said,
I
I'll
don't
never love
remember.
you, but it was the equivalent of that to Brooke.
I just remember it bothered me too that like, I mean, people like, now what's Julian's mom name? I'm the one that just told you a
Sharon.
minute ago. Yeah, okay. Like the way she like just, kind of like swooped in and like was like took her under her, they became besties right away. And then even Haley at that Thanksgiving, like I understand Haley, you had just lost your mom. And I understand you saying, I wish I could have, another day with my mom. But your Lydia and Victoria were not the same. It's not the same
Exactly.
scenario. So like Brooke not wanting to forgive Victoria was perfectly acceptable.
Mhm.
Like sometimes when people are that toxic, it is okay to cut them out of your lives, even if they are your own parent.
Yeah.
It is okay.
Yes.
Until they
So-
show that they have changed
Yeah.
and they have been redeemed. And that's okay too, to let them back in when they're healthy.
If you want to, and I don't even think, even if they are completely change and they redeem themselves, if you are still not ready to accept them back, that is okay.
Mm-hmm.
That
Because
in theory, that's what I like. It just doesn't fully apply to Dan Scott.
well, and that's where I
Everybody
was
should
a
let
little-
Dan Scott back in.
That's a
That's just
special
because we
case.
love Dan, though. But like, it's totally okay that if this was real life, I don't know that I would
Yes.
forgive Dan Scott. I mean,
Ah,
so
I like to believe I'm the kind of person who would.
Oh, if he looked like Paul Johansson, maybe I would.
well,
Not
here's the
even
deal,
that for me.
I absolutely would because I'm a pushover. But I hope that I wouldn't be that way. Like we all know, like that's just who I am. So I would. But we're just saying, you don't have to.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think that whole, I forgot about the Thanksgiving thing too, you mentioned it. But Sharon's push for it, it felt to me, because I still didn't like Sharon at this point, because seriously, I don't think you guys understand. The wedding planning thing really made her sour in my mouth. Like I don't trust people like that. But how she pushed, I almost wondered, are you pushing for this so that you can kind of separate her from Julian a little so you can have more of Julian back? I almost kind of felt that at first.
No, she's a little bit of a toxic, like
She is, yes.
a mother to him. I mean, let's be honest, but that's okay.
With the dog costume.
Oh my God.
Oh my god, it's so
Dude,
funny. But
you are a grown man. What
And
are
then
you
him-
doing?
he
I
loves
think
his
I think
mama.
that's where it went wrong for me.
Like,
Oh, I
seeing
see.
Him
Julian
in the dog costume trying to high
With his
five
high
Nathan.
fives?
It just did it. And I was like, that's it.
Do you realize
Done.
I love the follow through? Because if you watch the rest of the show, there was another time where he high fived somebody else in like season 8 or season 9, like way later, and he still does it that way. So I love the follow through on these jokes that like you remembered that is how Julian high fives someone, and every
Well,
time
he
he would do it,
Forget.
He high-fived Jamie like that at the wedding.
yes, that's what, and he does it again at like maybe at like the little
Probably
league
after a
baseball
baseball.
game
Yeah.
or something. Like he always high fives like that, and I love it. I think it's
I
wonderful.
love how that played out with, what was it, Chase and Mouth and Nathan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's like, have you ever seen him high five? I did it the other day on some advice of somebody.
I love like
Nathan's reaction to it, though, he's like, okay, this is weird.
and see, I think that is something like when I think about, I think I told you all this. I feel like early on in the show, we saw a lot of the girls' friendships growing. Okay. And
Yeah.
we had like Nathan and Lucas, but that was sort of it. The other guys were around, but there wasn't like this bond happening. It was
Yeah, because Lucas and Mouth already had a bond that we didn't see it
Right.
develop.
Mhm.
like later on, it was, and I felt like it felt really like effortless and genuine of a man, like male friendships
Felt
with
real.
these guys.
Like that's how it would really develop in the real
Because
world.
there was no bonding, there was no like deep conversations for the most part. They just all kind of like, I don't know, like it just felt really natural. And it was one of my favorite things to see, just the guys sitting around kind of just being kind of goofy with each other. Because I feel like that's typically how guys
Yeah.
are in their relationships. They don't get deep and all that stuff like we do, like they just, sitting there having fun, like joking about like stuff. And I think they did a really good job in the later few seasons of like showing those relationships.
The one that sticks in my head the most that made me actually laugh out loud and I rewound the scene was when Chase tried to give, I don't remember, I think it was Mouth a drink, and Mouth was like, no. And then Chris Keller came up, he's like, Chris Keller needs a drink. And Chase handed it to him. And Chris Keller
smacked
just
him.
immediately smacked him.
Look, Chase
So
and
Chris was doing what everyone else had wanted to do all
Yes.
along.
Chris and Chase, their friendship was something I would have never thought
I
about. It was one of my
loved
favorite
it.
things in the world.
Did we not tell you would come back to absolutely love
I
Chris
know
Keller
what-
in season 9?
We were right.
I
I
love it.
did love Chris Keller back. Like
When he's in that car
So
with
great.
Dan.
that was the relationship I did not know I needed.
Mhm.
It was Dan Scott and Chris Keller.
And then you had Julian in the mix too. What a trio! Like
When
that's
he
the
pops
weirdest
up from the
thing.
back seat.
I felt bad for Dan Scott.
I mean, of all the
Felt
people,
like a babysitter. It was
Yeah.
like he was a babysitter.
I like
Yeah.
when Dan walks away, he's like, Dan Scott does not like this either.
I love that whole episode.
Well, let's
just-
finish up Brulian first
Yeah.
before we dig into them, because I could
Okay.
talk about them forever. There's
Okay.
also the adoption fall through with Chloe. That
I
broke
hate her
my
face.
heart.
Every time
Look.
I see her,
on anything. Okay, she messes
hate
up
her.
stuff
Well, I
everywhere
hear
she
she
goes.
plays this character a lot.
She messed everything up for Lexi and Mark too. Okay, so
Mhm.
like it was just like she can just go on somewhere with
Grey's
her
Anatomy.
Oh, I was like, I don't remember Alexia
illegitimate
Mark.
children.
Okay.
Just take it somewhere else.
She played Mark Sloan's daughter.
Mm.
Who was a teen pregnancy, who then came along and was
What do
pregnant.
you know?
So
Pregnant and that too. Decided I'm gonna keep my baby.
yeah,
Yeah, that was just that felt.
which is fine. I mean, I don't want to give people the wrong impression here. Obviously, like perfectly fine that she decided she was going to
Absolutely.
keep her child.
Absolutely.
It's just we hated seeing the heartache for Brooke and Julia
did.
because they had already been through so much.
it ended up being okay.
Yes.
But here's what I didn't like about that storyline. Like, I didn't hate her at all, because it's something that happens, and it's actually a familiar trope on TV too. They
Yeah.
like to do this a lot. But it
Mhm.
was how she talked about her boyfriend. Now, was it either that, because they never made it clear, was it really that he didn't want kids at all? He wanted her to do the abortion route. He wanted her to get rid of it. Or was it that she just assumed he wanted that? Because they
was
didn't,
assumed.
when he came back, he's like, yeah, I'm going to be a dad. My girlfriend's in there. Like, they made it seem like Chloe and this guy had been talking about it.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. It also reminded me of that movie Baby Mama with Tina Fey and Amy Poehler.
Oh yeah.
Where Amy Poehler came and they were trying to she wasn't really pregnant, but they were trying to screw with her.
Yeah.
And it was
Yep.
to get all the benefits of having this woman pay for things. It almost felt like that because of how her boyfriend came in there. But he knew she went into labor. He knew she was at the hospital. He
Oh,
was waiting
yeah.
for her to give birth. He was excited about it. So it's like they talked about how they're going to keep this baby. It's going to be involved. He didn't even know who Brooke and Julian were.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what made me mad about the storyline was, okay, so were you just, and they never made it clear. Was she just screwing with them to get benefits, or did she make up with this? They weren't clear about the
They
relationship between Chloe and the boyfriend. And
I
didn't-
think they were really honestly
Mm.
trying. I think she really did not want to have the baby because she didn't think he was going to be supportive. And I think she
They
didn't
said
discuss the
that.
adoption. I don't, did they? I never watched season 9 this time around.
Because she
It's been a
said
while.
twice, she said, I just don't want to do it. And that was the moment I was like, okay, he's going to come back, obviously, because they made a point to have her say twice, I just don't want to do it alone. That was
Yeah.
her only reason for giving it up. But
Yeah.
it didn't seem like she was ever alone, because the way they brought the boyfriend in, they made it seem like he has been excited about this the whole time.
Yeah.
They've been talking it was how he was written. I didn't like it.
Yeah.
It
I
didn't
agree.
connect.
I didn't like either of them.
But then Brooke obviously got pregnant and does the baby line, Baker Men. I love when she sang the song.
Mhm.
Brooke is just so cute.
She's so
I just
cute.
love her.
I know.
And that's why her dad returns. And I knew when he returned, I was like, no, he's returning for a reason. I
Mhm.
don't like him. There's something wrong. So I'm mad at myself that I was surprised that Victoria
Yeah.
and Ted ended up together, because I should have seen it coming. Now that I
Yeah.
think back, I should have known, but I was surprised when she was with him. Like,
I was surprised, but I mean, I kind of like I
Made me
think
laugh.
I kind of liked it, and it made me laugh because like good for them. I hope that it completely works out for them. Like
Yeah.
I don't know, it's funny.
see, now when Brooke came in the hotel room with them,
Yeah,
unknowingly, she just burst into her mom's room, which that seems scary given your mom's history. But her mom,
Just to
I
your
thought
mom, I feel like I just do that kind of stuff.
I thought the dad was maybe on the floor, but the way
Yeah.
Victoria's like, honey, I do this from time to time. You know, I do that. Dude, he's going to come out of the bathroom at any minute. You should try harder to get her out if you're trying to hide this. So
Yeah.
Victoria,
It's like they
But-
weren't trying hard at all because he just came out of the shower. Like, did he not hear his daughter standing out there talking?
I guess not.
I think he's on his own little
I was going to say,
happy land.
Ted is very self-focused.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, when Victoria came and the babies were, she was feeding them and she had breakfast ready and Julie was like, I love coffee cake.
Uh-huh.
Like, oh my God, I love coffee cake. I was like, Julian, that was a really sweet attempt, but it failed.
The whole
I-
scene with Victoria doing things and Julian just getting progressively more and more excited about her being there. I just loved it.
I was also glad to see, because I remember every time, and I forgot about it this time too. I was thinking, why is he being so easy on Ted? Just like Brooke said to him. And
I
so
like
then
what
when he went
Julian
over there and
said.
finally gave it to Ted.
Oh,
like,
that was
too.
so good.
I love it. I love how they do that for each other. Like,
Well,
Mhm.
and I like how Julian defended it. He said, he's not getting a free pass, but right now my wife is happy.
Yeah.
Before with you, when he came at Victoria, she was making Brooke miserable.
miserable. Yeah.
That was why he said something to her. But the moment either one of them comes at Brooke, he's in the middle and he's knocking it off. What did he
Love
say?
it.
What did he say it rhymes with?
When he
surprised.
said it right, when he said, you know, who calls their daughter thick, I'll give you a hint. It rhymes with
Dick.
thick.
Yeah.
But no, he said
Dick.
it rhymes with. And then at the end, he's like, it's Dick, by the way. You're a dick, Ted.
It rhymes with thick because he was saying who calls their daughter
Oh.
thick. And that's what it was.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's what he was like. It's Dick, Ted. It's Dick.
I did laugh. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I like a mad Julian.
Yes. I like it every kind of Julian, but I like a Matt Julian for sure.
I did. Oh my gosh. When he left the baby in the car,
It's heartbreaking.
oh my gosh, for multiple reasons. And this was a storyline I felt that they did well. I think that it happens more often, especially when you have twins,
Mhm.
when you are working and you have newborn twins and you are overexhausted. It shouldn't happen. It shouldn't, but it does happen. And it's not because the parents are villains. It's not because the parents hate their kids. It's not because they're
No.
nothing. It's because when you are broken, you have a routine that is the only thing that's keeping you tied to this world is this routine because you can't physically, mentally focus on anything outside of that routine. You just, it slips and it shouldn't,
will-
and it's devastating. But what I like is that they didn't go light on him and they made Julian feels like any good parent would feel. I deserve to be punished.
Yeah.
I did this. But then there's also that side of Brooke that's absolutely right of I know you didn't want this to happen. I know
Right.
this devastated you. And when he was like, I can't be left alone with them, it broke my heart. And then he took him to the hospital. Like, oh,
I know. Well, and I mean, I think I remember before, like I had kids, like I would hear these stories and I'm like, how could you forget your child after you've had some and you're sleep deprived and like life is just
and that
life.
we've only had one at a time
Exactly. So like,
who didn't have colic.
yeah, well, no.
But I
Shelby
mean,
did.
2 babies at a time had
Oh,
colic.
I
They
know.
had twin babies
Because
that had
that whole
colic.
storyline of driving around at night, when I had already seen that, but I remember like later on when I rewatched it, Shelby, we did this a lot,
Mhm.
just driving all the time because she would
It's the
not.
only way to get him to
sleep. It
chill.
was terrible. But I mean, not even just that. I mean, like little things as a parent, like when I've let my kids like hit their head. I've accidentally, but like you've done
Mhm.
things and you feel like the worst parent in the world, but sometimes things happen. Like we are human too. And
Mhm.
thankfully, in in this particular situation, it didn't turn out as bad as it sometimes does. But when he sits in that hot car and
Oh,
talks about how he can't get it up, like I feel like that was such a, I don't know, it was a real reaction
Mhm.
because here he's punishing himself way more than I think anyone else could punish him.
yeah.
And he's devastated by this. And I hate that storyline, but at the same time, like you said,
They
I think
did it
was
well.
done well. Yeah.
It makes me sad every time, but it's a good storyline. Like it's
Mhm.
always done really well.
Yeah. And it's when you read those stories, now that I have kids, like Jeanette said, when I read those stories about babies who have died for being left in the car,
Mhm.
now my instinct is not to, how could those parents, my instinct is, oh my gosh, those parents
That
have
poor
got to be
parent.
just
Yeah.
absolutely ruined.
Yes.
Like they will be broken beyond repair for the rest of their
Or
life.
you'll
knowing that they
never
did that.
recover from something
No.
like that. No.
And I mean, again, that's for a good parent, someone who wasn't trying to harm
Yeah.
their child.
Yeah, like the parents that leave their kids in the car because they're in the bar getting drunk or something. That's a
Mhm.
different scenario. Okay,
Yeah.
those are not good parents. Like, but like this
And I-
was just
Yeah, and I like how Brooke put it. She said it's on me too because I knew you were overworked. I knew you were overtired. I knew you were unfocused, and I still asked you to do it. So I mean, Brooke, but I think Brooke is handling it logically well, where she knows she has to tell him that because she is his partner, but she's not holding on to guilt for it. She's like, no, I still understand
Yeah.
that this was beyond something that we
Yeah.
wanted to happen, but we both played a part in it.
Right.
And
I wasn't even mad at her initial reaction of actually kind of being upset with him because I think you would probably feel that way too.
Yeah.
I mean,
it was a
initially
quick
you would be-
turnaround.
It was, and I think Haley was a big part of that. And I was really
Mhm.
proud of her saying that, like, you know, that he's a good father,
Yeah.
like, and that this is killing him, and he
And I
needs
had
you to
forgotten
realize-
that Jamie landed in the pool.
Yeah, I mean, because that's kind of the same type scenario. That was them
Mhm.
not paying attention, and their kid almost paid the price. You know, so
And I think that was, again, like part of me was like, come on, don't be mean to Julian. But I totally understood if I was in that position,
I would too.
it's your child. I think if
Yeah.
you didn't have that reaction to your child nearly dying at the negligence of a parent,
Yeah,
I don't think that you should be a parent if that's not your initial reaction is to be upset.
yeah, yeah.
So
No,
I
agree.
mean, obviously that is a whole new thing, and they became better parents because of it. And I'll tell you, man, I lost one of my kids once. We were at a water park, Great Wolf Lodge, with my brother and his family, and I was trying to watch one, even though it was with my husband. My oldest was with my
Yeah.
husband, and I still was like, I gotta keep an eye. I gotta keep an eye. There's water, and I'd only
Yes.
turned away for a couple of seconds, and she wasn't there when I turned back around. My youngest,
Yeah,
she wasn't even 2 yet, I don't think. And I remember going up to one of the lifeguards, and I wasn't even walking to a lifeguard. I was just looking, and there was a parent who stopped me and said, "What are they wearing?" Because it's
Yeah.
something that it just
Yes.
happens. Parents know this happens. And
Yeah.
because of that, I'm a way better parent. Not that I'm like, hey, this should happen to you. It makes you a better parent. That's
right.
not what I'm
No, I
saying.
know what you mean.
But
Yeah.
because it happened, I'm way more vigilant with my children than I was before. And it's not like I can be like, you're fine in this gigantic public place where death is all around you if I just
Yeah.
look away for a few seconds. And they're better parents because of it.
Yeah.
So let's dig into Xavier.
Ugh.
Do we have to?
Yes.
Because I hated Sarah. I hated X. I did not like any of it.
Look, I will admit with Tara, okay, I thought the scenario with Chase, I mean, I thought it was really, honestly, I found it to be amusing, like with
I
That
the
think it
whole,
was their goal.
amusing. I liked
it
that
was-
part.
it
If
was
they
funny.
left it there, then that
I-
then
I even don't mind like her, like the back and forth battle between the cafes, because I laughed quite a bit too when they like, I mean, like the plant with the roaches, and then Brooke had to go over there, and
Ooh.
what there was the one time that both Mouth and Skills were over there eating, and she was like, "You're dead to me." And then like she said that, then she saw Chase over there too. I'm like, all of her friends are like literally over there. Poor Brooke. Like these people are making her life miserable, and all her best friends are like just over there chilling. And I mean, granted, Chase was over there for a reason that she didn't know about, but I don't know, like those parts didn't bother me as much because it was, I mean, it's probably a little unnecessary conflict, but it was amusing here and
Mhm.
there. The Xavier storyline, though, like that was scary, is what it was. And I didn't like how Tara was just like, oh, you know, like, I mean, Brooke's like literally telling them, like, he's dangerous. Like, granted, I mean, if you look at it from her perspective, that they had Dan Scott working there,
Mhm.
which we love Dan, but to an outside person,
Exactly.
he is really just as I mean, from the outside looking in, he has also murdered someone and also done prison time. There's not that much difference between him and Xavier from the outside. We know because we've seen, you know, inside their hearts and all this stuff. Like, we love him, okay. But I can see where someone else would be like, it's not really any different.
You
Yeah.
know what made me really crazy though, and I don't know if it ever really occurred to me until this rewatch, is they're following Xavier, trying to catch him in the
Yeah.
act, going around saying,
They
you know, this
antagonized
guy's
him.
crazy, like they're antagonizing him. I'm like, well, no wonder he, you know, turned back to a life of crime, because he's like, well, this is what people expect. So, okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and attack Brooke because now she's
Yeah.
pissing me off and annoying the crap out of me.
Now, I do think he would have done it anyways. I do actually, because I just think that's who his character was, and he wouldn't have been able to resist trying to like hurt her again. But I
recognizing
don't know.
really helped.
It definitely, they shouldn't have been doing that. I also don't like that the cops, though, when they first went to him and was like, he came in there and had like pie. Like, I mean, guys, he shouldn't be in there having pie in her restaurant when like she was a victim of his. Like,
I
this
don't
is not
understand
okay.
why he's ever out. He
Yeah.
murdered.
Well, he was
Somebody.
He
never
was never
convicted.
tried or convicted for that.
I
I
never
guess they
got him
probably
for
couldn't
that.
prove that. I guess.
Well, it was never brought against him.
Well, they found his ID, so I don't know why
They
it
found his
wasn't.
ID and they ran like he's the one who
I
killed
don't know
Quentin.
where it makes me wonder where that went, because all we know is that they found Q's ID in his house.
They
Like,
didn't,
that-
because they didn't flush out the storyline. The cops never brought any charges against him for it. They didn't even investigate him for it. Nothing was ever brought against. So that
Yeah.
that's to the cops. That's not even something you can hold against him. However, that is an excellent point, because that is not how a parole officer would have done it. Because
No.
Brooke went to him and he even said, he's not supposed to be around you. If it makes you feel better, I'll talk to him again. No, parole officers, their
No.
whole job is no, you either abide by the rules or you go back to prison. That
Yes.
is their whole job. So I think they messed that up. There's no way they would have taken it that lightly and been like, oh, okay, since he's not supposed to be around you, I'll talk to him and see if he's willing to stay away from you. No.
No.
Yeah, it's like
Apparently,
what are you, a kindergarten teacher trying to solve a conflict between two children? Like,
Yes.
Yes.
look, the whole law enforcement in Tree Hill needs some adjusting, because we saw that too, like
Jeez.
with the whole Nathan thing. So,
Yes.
like,
Yeah.
I think there's issues.
And I think what I didn't like is, I agree. I think Xavier would have done it no matter, because the first thing he did when he got out, and it's because of what Brooke said at his parole hearing.
Mhm.
And I think it was stupid of Brooke to go see him one-on-one before the parole hearing. That was dumb. She
Yeah.
should not have done that. I get her point was, I want
I-
to see
yeah.
if he's really been reconciled, whatever. But he was believable in that. So I think she already wanted to say, no, don't release him. But I think she wanted justification for saying that, which is why I think
Mhm.
she went one-on-one. But he already made a plan in his head to go after her because what she said at the parole board, because the very first thing he did when he got out was went to her restaurant. He was like, hey, I'm looking for a job. I didn't know you own this. Bull crap, you didn't know, because you watched her in there before she put the sign
Yeah.
out. And you
Yeah.
even said,
Mhm.
I just watched you put the sign out. So he watched her do it. He knew she owned it. However,
He just wants he wants to scare her.
the antagonizing though that Julian and Brooke did to him, I think made him I think he just wanted to take her. I don't think he would have played as many mind games had they not antagonized him. I think that they made it
Maybe.
fun for him by doing that. So he made a
Yeah.
game of it instead of just biding his time and waiting.
Yeah.
I
I
think
think,
he
I
made
mean,
worse by
no,
it.
I agree. But I mean, like I said, he definitely, not even did he just see the sign, but like Karen's Cafe is literally in the building where he attacked her.
Mm-hmm.
Like, close over, it's in the exact same location.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I
So,
mean, they
like-
could make the case that, well, it's a different, so he didn't know it was the same thing. He thought
let's-
it was under
yeah,
different ownership because it's a different.
But let's
They-
see. I mean, this is literally where you committed your crime that you were put
Mhm.
away. You
And
were
the
going
other
to get a
thing,
job
too-
here.
The other thing too is that this was done sort of well, I think, in terms of giving the cops a reason to be crap, because they were the ones following him at a certain point when he was nowhere. He wasn't coming after her.
Yeah.
It didn't appear like it.
Yeah.
So it looked like they were harassing him. So
Yeah.
I think the cops on the scene, when they're like, he broke into somebody's house, I give them a pass. His parole officer, no,
Mm-mm.
No.
there is no pass for you, dude, because that's the law. And the
I
feud with Tara, I think I hated her character because we were supposed to hate her character.
Yes.
It's not because, but we were supposed to hate her because she was
Mhm.
an awful human being, just an awful human being. But I did laugh a lot with her, and I
Mhm.
did laugh on her exit to the show. And I honestly think that's the whole reason she was on there, was to save Brooke from her, because they do have a running theme on the show that the men don't save the women, the
Right.
women save the women. And I do appreciate that theme,
Mhm.
but I do like when she's like, I gotta sell the cafe. It makes me a wench. She didn't say wench. She said something else. But Brooke was like, yeah.
Yeah.
And that was the
I
last we see of Tara. I liked that.
Yes.
So Tara had multiple facets in this show, and she was just not
Mm-hmm.
a. I did like her with Chris Keller. What did Chase put? Not Alex. That was her name. I want to meet not Alex.
Mhm.
Before we dig into Nelly, let's just finish her off and talk. That sounded more
Well, let's not finish her
evil
off.
than I meant.
Okay.
We're gonna dig into Chase and them. I think with her, I hated how they ended the Chase Alex thing, because they didn't even really break up. It was,
Yeah.
I love you. I love you too. Chris Keller, I'm going to go on tour, and we never see her again.
Yeah, it was weird.
Why have her move in with him? Which, by the way, that was, Chase, that was pretty risky what she did there.
I
yeah.
agree with that. Yeah.
I mean, they were dating for what? He even said, I know we haven't been dating that long. Why
Yeah.
didn't you move her into your apartment,
Well,
guy?
in One Tree Hill, we always move fast. No one like takes their time with relationships.
true.
And that's
Like,
irritating.
well, I mean, you just gotta. Who wants to see? You don't want to watch them take their time. That's no fun.
I do.
I don't.
That's why Clay and Quinn irritate me.
Yeah.
So
Don't you believe they fall instantly in love? Like that's love
Mm.
at first sight. It's romantic.
Yeah, no.
It's romantic. I'm on
It is
Jeanette's side.
romantic. see?
No, that's not romantic. That's
A little bit
That's-
unbelievable, but it's a show.
yeah. That's
okay.
You have something that you are trying to fill a void for, and you're filling it with this, which is not going to end well for you.
It ends just fine most of the time in Tree Hill.
Oh, did it? Did Alex and Chase end well?
That's the one time it doesn't. I fully. The
What
first
about-
time I watched
No,
it,
Chris Keller and Tara.
that wasn't true love. That was something else entirely.
That was play.
I fully expected like Alex to be in that end scene. I really, the first time I
Mhm.
watched this, I thought for sure
Mhm.
they will be back together.
Well, they should have given her a better exit
But
than
she
that because that was stupid.
Like I would have been fine if we had just seen her at that last basketball game, like just how we saw Bevan and Skills back together. Nothing was said about it. We just assumed they're back together.
Bevan was in that final scene?
Yeah, she's with Skills.
Yeah, she's with skills.
Yeah.
So like if we had just thrown
didn't
Alex in
notice
there
it.
too, like because we show Chris and Chase together, we should have had like then Alex kind of just walks up and climbs in between them or whatever. Like I feel like that would have been just enough for me to be like, cool, they got back together and all is well. Like
Yeah.
but they didn't do it.
I agree. I think the Alex storyline was just, and we talked about this in the beginning a little bit, how they did that way too fast. It was just out of nowhere. And again, she left Chase. I don't like that they had her leave Chase. And again, they didn't explain that one either. She was just gone. And then they had to say, oh, she lied to me. She just wanted to be a bartender in a movie. And then they bring her back just to do the exact same thing. Like, come on, man, do something
Yeah.
different. That's stupid. But then what I really liked was the Chase and Chris Keller friendship.
It's the best.
And doesn't Chris Keller at one point say he's my best friend? Because when
Yeah.
it was when Brooke brought up in the restaurant or the cafe that he was dating Tara, and he's like, no, he's my best friend. He wouldn't do that. Like,
They're so cute.
Like, well,
Like, I
that's
just-
a really fast friendship. Okay, I'm here for it.
that's how Chris Keller operates. Okay. Also, Chris Keller and Chuck. Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Oh my gosh.
yeah.
I cannot stand Chuck.
When
So
Chuck starts
Oh.
dressing like Chris Keller.
oh
What does he call it? He calls him Mini Me, doesn't he?
No, he
Like,
calls him
probably.
Little Keller.
Yeah.
Or Little Mini Keller, something like that. But Keller's in the name.
I think it's cute. I mean, look, Chuck is obnoxious, okay? But
He
like
has reason to be.
something about Chuck's like relationship with Chase, I love. I just think it's a really wholesome, like you saw a side to Chase that we like didn't see in anything
Mhm.
else. And I think it's sweet. I don't know.
And it explains why Chuck, I mean, you kind of got that because his dad was absent before, but it's
Mhm.
nice to have really, really, truly see why Chuck is the way he is.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that with Chris Keller and Chuck, it was just, there was a scene, well, obviously Chuck is like, Chuck, and then punches people in the stomach, which it made me laugh. But when he did it to Nathan, Nathan kicks him and went, Nathan. I did enjoy that because Chuck also needs that. You can't just let this
Yes.
kid keep being an a-hole. You
Yep.
have to stand up to him. And that brings us to when his dad comes. This is okay. So obviously Chase joins the Air Force because that was his response before Alex,
Yeah.
right? He joined the Air Force to do something, and Chuck
wants
was
to be a
really
pilot.
upset about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Chuck was upset and he came back. He kept his word, which is something his dad never did. But then his
Mhm.
dad comes back. What I did not like about this, I think it was an interesting storyline, a sad storyline, a too common storyline where the dad is abusive. The mom's obviously an alcoholic, so she already has a lot of issues. I
Mhm.
get why she let him stay. But then Chase takes a crowbar to his dad in front of Chuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chuck's outside. You don't do that, man.
Yeah.
Well,
You're beating this guy to, I mean, he took a metal crowbar to him. The
No, I
guy's in a
agree.
hospital. You did it in front of Chuck. So that's what Chuck sees. What you should have done, I get the urge to beat the snot out of this guy to within an edge of his life. I get that response. I totally understand it. But Chuck and his mom even mostly Chuck, but Chuck and his mom needed to be taken out of the situation, brought somewhere safe. You don't beat the crap out of this guy with a crowbar in front of this kid.
But I think we're also looking at this as a 40-year-old adult, whereas once again, Chase is he's mid-20s.
I forget that.
And he is reacting off of mid-20 male hormones where he just was enraged and went in there with a crowbar.
Stupid.
So I think I think he's not thinking, plus he's not a parent. Like he's been like a big brother to Chuck. So like he's not thinking about this the way you're right. I mean, it's definitely not the right way to handle it. But I think I definitely see why this was
I get the desire to do it for sure. I did like Chris Kellerman's role in it too, where Chris went and got Chuck to be honest, and then he came in and what did Chris Kellerman say to the Air Force Board? You're a disgrace to our country or something like that.
That little speech that Chuck gives though, like makes me so like I don't know. It's so cute. Because I mean this poor kid just doesn't have any good role models. He doesn't know what he's supposed to do. Like
and his mom led him into that. She said, he doesn't hit you, does he? What's the only parent he's got left.
And I wish that cop, I mean, I don't know, like pull the kid aside. It is clear that mom is leading him, but I guess you can't necessarily. I don't know what you can do. Like
typically in that situation, the parent has to be in this vicinity, but you can still pull the child aside. Yeah. But the parent has to be around. So that is what should have been done, I think.
It's just sad. Yeah.
It is sad. It's incredibly sad. And I think that it felt weird what they did with Chase's character too. They just kind of made him aimless.
Yeah.
And what was Haley's idea to help him buy Trick?
That's what I watched this again and I was thinking, did they tell us? Like, was that last concert maybe a benefit to help?
I mean,
Chase?
maybe, but they never said it. And what is all the money going to go towards Chase? Shouldn't they be telling the people that's what their money is going towards because they're putting their money towards it?
Because she found that thing about like Trick's opening and how like I feel like she found something talking about a benefit, which made me think that that's where they were going. But you're right, because this time I was watching it, I was like, wait, did they not say exactly how we bought it?
At all.
Yeah, I don't know.
And
maybe Karen also was willing to sell it to me for super cheap.
I'm sure she would.
Probably
Why did she still own it? That's what I don't understand.
Investment.
Yeah, but she
I don't know why she didn't sell it to Haley already. Like it would have made more sense for like Haley to already own it.
I don't think anybody ever asked her to buy it though either.
I thought Lucas did back in season 6? 5?
Karen still owned it, but Lucas was just
kind of running it. I don't think
running it in a way.
Well, no, because he returned. He was writing. He came back and I thought he had asked permission for Peyton to buy it.
No, to rent the recording studio.
Okay.
It was to rent. Yeah, he was just asking Karen to rent her space.
It's just so funny to me that we never really, I mean, we did see them building the recording studio, but that whole thing just seems kind of like out of the wall. Speaking of out of the wall, let's dig into Naley and what their season 9 was him getting kidnapped. Yeah. That just seemed like a desperate attempt to bring drama to the show. Like, I like what it brought. The last season, the 13 episodes, not the place to do it.
I get why they had to do it because James could only commit to like 8 episodes or something.
He was in every episode though, wasn't he?
No, because that's why they did that storyline, is because he had to be out a lot.
Yeah, so I don't understand why they couldn't just have come up with something else.
He's in Europe doing his job.
Yeah, like
but
why
we needed Dan
on a bunch of business trips. I don't get why they had to do the whole mob thing, but then we got Dan and Chris Keller.
We need Dan to be a hero in order to be forgiven. That's what we needed.
I did really I cheered when Dan came back.
Because Dan, I mean, as much as we hated it, Dan had to die at the end of the series. He had to die the hero in order for this to fully work. It needed to happen. We hate it, but it needed to happen. Because if Dan had lived, he would have messed up again. Okay. And he would have upset somebody else again. Like he had to die on a good note. Or it was gonna there's just no way he was gonna be able to stay being good. It's not gonna happen.
Maureen has things to say.
No, I don't. I'm not talking to people about this.
It's because she agrees, though. Like, there's no way.
No, it's because I'm mad at you people.
Look, you never asked. I said in the chat, I just went through my last tearjerker. no one said what happened. Did
You
someone
would not
die?
have told me.
I might have.
I didn't
No,
ask
you
'cause I
would
didn't
not
know where
have.
she was, but I figured I knew where you were.
There's
I
no.
knew she was talking about Dan's death.
You guys have not told me a single. Every time I've asked, you guys are like, "I'm not telling you. I'm not telling you." So what was
I
the
just
point of
can't
it? You've been
believe-
doing it
I just can't believe you didn't see that coming. Like, come on, Dan
because
had
he's.
to die.
I'm with Jamie. He's Dan Scott. He's gotten through harder things than this before, and it's a bullet that takes him down.
Yep.
Yeah.
I am mad because no one
Same
warned
way
me.
his brother died. As he
How
killed his
great
brother.
was that scene of Keith coming to get him and he said he was his
Ugh.
+1?
I loved
I
it.
love that.
I mean, so good. She's really not talking to us about this.
Mm. No.
I did
Dan
like that
needed
Dan
to
gave-
end with us. He needed to come with us.
He
with the
didn't.
show.
He went somewhere else.
No, he died with the show.
Mhm.
I did like that before he went, he gave Clay another baptism.
I
I
mean,
love his response when Quinn came in. He's like, "Well, it worked the first time."
I think it's sweet too that he refers to Quinn as his family too.
Mhm.
Because
Because
Dan
they-
is a decent human being.
I
He made a
know.
mistake.
I know. Well, he made a lot of mistakes. Like, let's be
He made a
honest.
lot of
We don't need
He
to
did.
digress, Jeanette.
I mean, I love Dan, but come on, he made a lot of mistakes.
He was so good in the end. I mean, did he kill a lot of people in his final episode? Yeah, but they all deserved
Yeah.
it.
They did. They did. Chris Keller killed that one with the
Oh my gosh.
car. He said Chris Keller's job is done. He took off.
But he didn't just take off running. It was the way he ran.
I know, it's so great.
He's the best.
When he was like,
When he
when-
came back, he said, Chris Keller's on the lamb.
"No, Haley probably won't recognize me." And then he took off his glasses that the beard was attached to. Oh my gosh.
Oh,
Never
whew.
did I think I would say Chris Keller made everything better.
We
But he
told
did.
you. We
Told
told
you.
you.
And when they were doing the fire target practice, and he kept saying how bad he was, and Dan shot a shotgun. He's like, "Chris Keller wants one of those." And Dan said, he's like, "Can I go? Why can't I go?" And he's, "You can't. You called shotgun."
It's so great. Chris Keller, I could just quote his lines all the time. There was also when he first came back and he was like, I think I put it in the chat. He said, Chris Keller likes to work with himself. That way he knows he's working with the best. Or whatever he says. I don't know. He just makes me laugh.
That's the other thing about the Naley storyline is Chris Keller coming back to run the label. I'm
Mhm.
sorry, who makes a decision based off of email alone?
Well,
Yeah.
Haley.
Haley,
weird.
apparently.
That's dumb. And I'm sorry, Harry Johnson.
Harry Johnson.
Did you see me in the chat yesterday?
Yes.
Harry Johnson.
And oh my gosh, Chris Keller when he finds out what an intern is.
The twin turns, right? He got himself the
They're
twin turns.
robots, and then they find him crying. He's like, "Oh, they're not robots. Did you actually think they were robots?"
I mean, I think he did actually.
And then the final scene when the girls show up on either side of them and Chris and Chase get real excited.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
He was great. He was just great.
Mhm.
All right, we're going to talk to Nathan Kidnap. Okay, so the kidnapping storyline, that felt just really out of place. I get
Yeah.
why they needed it for mode. It makes more sense now that James was gone. I mean, there's so many other ways they could have done it that brought Dan back. And I know that we all saw his change and nobody else did. But again, I hate how Haley comes at him and kicks him out. Even Quinn knew to go to Dan.
Yeah.
She went to Dan when she wanted to kill crazy lady whose name I forgot. What's her name?
Katie.
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 Crazy Katie.
What does he have against the names? Was it Nanny Carrie also crazy?
Crazy Carrie. Crazy Katie.
So Quinn went to him then, and even I love that. But even when during this whole Nathan debacle, it was Quinn was telling people to go to Dan. So
Mhm.
even Quinn, who they made unnecessarily weird in these seasons.
She was too quirky towards the
I
end.
agree. You know what? My husband loves her and he loves the quirkiness about her. Like,
But it's so out of the
so-
blue. It doesn't make sense.
I
No,
know.
she takes like a total character change.
I
And
like
it's so
quirky,
funny-
but on her, it was just too silly, was my problem.
Exactly.
And because then there's other times when she's not that quirky. Like, I feel like Clay was the perfect amount of weird.
Mhm.
Like, he felt like naturally weird.
Yes.
Whereas hers just felt like caricature. Like we're just trying to make her like a cartoon character over here. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Because Clay is one, I love Clay, and I love Clay so much more this time in my rewatch than I ever did before. I'm not sure what changed for me. But like, I feel like he was always like a good quirky weird, where she was weird. I mean, just weird.
Weird. That just reminded me of New Girl. Weird. Sorry. I agree. And it's because she was funny, she was light, but she was never weird before. And it just suddenly she started singing the Toaster Strudel song. And that seemed like just a way to get Chris Keller. Like, it just, why? That
'Cause
was
these
so
are-
weird.
It was
Sometimes
just
they would take their ads. Because do you remember the
Yeah.
Sunkissed thing? Like,
Yep.
they would be sponsored by
Oh my
stuff. And there was an
gosh.
episode back in like, what was it, like 3 or 4, where like Sunkissed is everywhere. And it's like,
Oh,
I
it
guess
was when they were
Sunkissed-
like they went to the where she loses the ring, the cabin, Rachel's cabin.
Okay, yeah. Like, I don't know if they get sponsored by like some
It
sort of
was.
company here and there.
They even
and
mentioned it in the podcast.
it's very strange.
Yeah.
I didn't like it. It was dumb. And then she just started getting weirder and weirder and weirder. And it just, there was no explanation for it. It was not who she had been at all at any point up until then. It just seemed, and that's the other thing with Clay's fugue state. Maybe given more time, maybe they'd been leading up to it since we met Clay, but they
Yeah.
hadn't. It was just like, bam, I'm wandering. Bam, this is why.
Well,
Bam, I have a son.
I
Like, oh,
know.
Okay,
lead
I
up
think
to this crap.
I
way
actually like that
back, I
storyline.
told you that like I felt like season 9, they like looked up at their board of random ideas and went, I can't pick between them. Let's do all of
them
them.
all.
So
And
all
that's
of
how I've
the
always
five-
felt about season 9. That's why I don't really
all
like
of-
it.
Everything we put into the maybe pile, guys. Let's just do it. Come
That's
on.
what I feel like. I feel like they had this wall of ideas and they're just like, throw them all in.
Yeah,
like-
no, I agree. I mean, but I do wish, I don't know.
Because I don't even mind that he has a son. I don't mind that he forgot about it. What I don't like is that same with Quinn, they just made an abrupt about face, so it
Yeah.
didn't make sense.
That's true.
Had we led up to it, I mean, you could have been if you knew that eventually you wanted to display that he had this son, you should have been peppering that in here and there throughout
Yeah.
the series.
Yeah.
Because he came in what, season 7? 8? No,
9.
6.
7.
No.
He came at
Clay.
7.
Oh, Clay.
Seven.
was 7.
Logan.
So you had 2.5 seasons where you could pepper it in. They didn't. It was just like all of a sudden the beginning of season 9. And I hate how they transitioned in season
It
8
should
and 9.
have been mentioned in the flashback when we learned about Katie, when they're
Yes.
dancing in the kitchen. And
Sarah.
When they're, Sarah, sorry, not Katie.
Yeah.
There should have
Not
been
Katie.
like a pacifier or a bottle,
Yes,
just like
a little
in the
hint.
background. Not
Mhm.
mention it, just like something back there. That way, when
Yeah.
we rewatch, we would have been like, holy moly. There's
I don't
like,
think they plan to do it until season 9.
I know. So, like, why do it? It
Exactly.
just made no sense.
Hmm.
It's like
And
they
that-
just needed some storyline. That's like the best they can come up with, which is
Yep.
We
They
had to have
wanted a way to
reason-
include Quinn and Clay, and that was
Well, we
it.
needed a reason why Clay wasn't going to Europe instead of it being Nathan.
They could have stuck with the drug line where he got addicted to those from the surgery. They
Yeah. So
adding a
much.
fugue state very random. I mean, the fact that he just now is in a fugue state after 6 years, all of a sudden he's wandering after 6 years.
Yeah.
It just,
Well, I think it was meant to be because he was finally ready to accept that he had.
but
this
it
part of
didn't
his
play out
life.
that way. It played out
Mhm.
as an abrupt about face. And it didn't make sense. That's same with the Puerto Rican vacation. Okay. So this company that you work for, Quinn, is just going to pay for 4 separate rooms because none of you are in the same room. 4
Sure.
separate rooms for 4
Uh-huh.
separate people, 3 of whom are not affiliated with this shoot in any way, shape, or form.
yeah.
And
no.
then this frustrated me so much where she's like, Quinn has this deep moment for a millisecond about how poverty and privilege
Mhm.
exists at the same time. And then they go and shoot a bunch of people and have fun with a model in a bikini. And they never mention, if you're going to make a point, freaking commit to the point or don't say it at all. That is
Yep.
so irritating. They did that all through season 9 and I wanted to hit something. It was so frustrating.
Quinn
Why
just
makes you
became
shallow?
he who shall not be named's new little shiny toy. If you can imagine, if you
Yeah.
can notice her.
I figured
always
that
in a
going off of the Utah
bikini
episode.
and
The Utah episode was the first time I was like, oh,
Yeah.
this feels dirty.
Mhm.
It
It's
feels
like Peyton-
gross.
Hillary left and he had to replace her with
Mhm.
somebody.
It was gross. It was gross. It made her so stupid. And I feel bad because Quinn used to
I
be
like
a character.
her.
Quinn used to be a character of substance. When she first comes on the show, she had substance.
Yeah.
Last season and a half, nope, nothing.
And I like the actress. I like her in other things she's done. I
Mhm.
just in One Tree Hill, she's just not my favorite. I don't hold it against her though, because I do like Quinn. She just annoys me.
I like who she first came on to be. Like when she first came there,
Yeah.
I liked her. It was this weird thing that I didn't like her.
Yeah.
And another one that didn't make sense was the stupid mouth is fat storyline. Are you kidding me?
Oh, I
Are you
hate
kidding
that.
me?
We always
It's
complain
not
about
even-
this.
Look,
It-
Mouth is not even
Always.
fat. Mouth has
No.
put on a little weight. Like that's
I was
it.
Tiny bit. It's like
I was
oh my
telling
God.
Jeanette too. I remembered I was texting Jeanette like after, like when I was watching season 9. It's a really bad fat suit. They didn't even do it just because the actor had maybe gained a little weight. So they were like, okay, well, let's just kind of tie it in this way. No, they just decided to make him fat and have Millie yell, "You're fat, 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 fat" on
Like
camera.
Like it was
we-
so like out of Millie's character even.
Mhm.
we acted like he was like literally like
300
grossly
pounds.
obese, okay? I mean, like, I don't understand it. It's just weird.
Really?
Yes, he can put on some weight, and that's fine if we want to like
Yeah.
we want to address like being healthy and eating right and working out. Like, cool,
Mhm.
those are good messages. Absolutely.
But just screaming at him that he's fat, fat, fat when
Like
in the
Skills
past
made me laugh when
zero's
Skills,
not a
because
size.
when
Mhm.
Skills like did it, like it was funny because I feel like it felt okay for Skills to kind of be that direct and kind of abrupt and
Yeah.
like it didn't feel out of character. But like, yeah, Millie, like we've sat over here and we've like made this whole thing of like her with her zero is not a size, which she was what, a 4 or 6? Okay, like so she still wasn't
Their
like a
idea of
plus size-
fat on this show is so out of order.
I mean, like
Yeah.
a plus size model was a size 6 apparently. So okay, cool, whatever. Like
That's
it's
also
just
brought up on the Puerto
weird.
Rican vacation. We're like, oh, this model is so beautiful. Have you
When
guys
Brooke-
looked in the mirror at any
I
point in
know.
time of your life?
I
know.
thought that too. I'm like, Jana Kramer and Sophia Bush are like talking about how beautiful someone is. Really? Really?
Yeah.
Because you're like
I
the
was
most
definitely
beautiful
thin.
people I've ever seen in my life, and you're talking about this. Okay.
Mhm.
And the other thing with Millie and Mal too is that I'm sorry, did Mal say you're addicted to Coke, 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 Coke? No, he didn't say
No.
that to her. I think that's a little worse than overeating a little bit. You had a drug problem.
Yes.
That's way more unhealthy than putting on a couple of extra pounds because the TV segment you do is about trying food.
Yes.
That she got in a fight with him to the extent that she slept on the couch because he gained a little weight.
Such a gross storyline to me. I hated it.
And okay. I had some issues with this season. I'm sorry. I don't mean to get as excited as I can see that
I
I'm
always
getting
have
because I
issues
just
with the season, so
I
I'm
just
here.
checked my face as I said this and I'm like, oh wow, I look a little too intense. But Millie being a field reporter.
Oh, it pisses me off.
Why?
Sorry. Pisses
She
me
has
off.
no expertise. She has nothing to go on because she looks good. Because Mouth asked her questions that she just answered. He's the one who asked the questions.
I know.
Just answered questions. That's all she did. And the fact that she kept going to Mouth saying, Mouth, what other stories you got? No, that's not good. Give me another one. So Mouth is going to do your job for you?
Yeah.
Basically. Yeah.
I hated Millie by the end of the
You
freaking
can't-
series.
Like, I don't get it. Like, if you don't know how to do you're looking at a person who doesn't know how to do the job,
Mhm.
then don't hire them to do the job. Like, I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
thinking, it's like hiring someone to teach a class and then they're having their roommate give them
Make the
all their
lesson
lesson
plan. Yeah.
plans. It's like, if
Yeah.
you don't know how to do it, you shouldn't be doing
Doing
it.
it.
You should
Exactly.
make it clear. It's like, hey, I've never been a reporter before. I might need some help.
Mhm.
And then they refuse to hire Mouth back, who has a degree in journalism, who had a successful show on there dealing with sports, but you hire him back because Millie made him look good. Millie, the one who has no expertise whatsoever. So you give them a morning show. That's what it took. This one who has no experience. It was just such a dumb storyline. I like the idea of them doing a morning show together. Fun, quirky, whatever.
Yeah.
But it was stupid. It was stupid. And
So
I do.
stupid.
The other thing I felt weird too is I liked that Mouth eventually was given his own sports show, which why didn't they just do that in the freaking first place? But then Skills as a co-anchor was so awkward and weird.
Yeah.
No. I would put him in sports before I put Mouth in sports because Mouth seemed a little more natural as a co-host. Skills has no skills. That was an accidental pun, but he had no skills at all being a co-anchor. He was stiff. He was slouching in his chair with his hands behind his knees. Like,
I think he was supposed to be like uncomfortable and bad at it.
so I think those are the biggest plot points. And I think there's one more thing that I did not like that they started doing in season 8, and I hated it. It was the transitions they started doing between shots, between things. They started doing this annoying and super lazy transition where someone will say something and it'll transition into the next scene where they're answering the question from the last scene, but it's a completely different scene, completely different people. That was irritating. And then also like an idea.
yeah.
They would have an
I never
idea.
noticed that.
It's so
do.
annoying. And then they'll have an idea. They'll say something like, I just wish I had more of this. And then the very next scene, the different people, different place, different situation, different scene, they have more of it. Like it just, why are you doing this? It's so lazy and it's so
Tying it all
frustrating.
together,
No,
Mom.
it's not tying it together. It's lazy filming is what it is. And I could not stand it. And also, why are there so many of these flashbacks? And they're, I don't know. It was, it's the dream sequences that they did. I'm doing overall the whole thing. The stupid dream sequences in like season 6 or 7, that was like how they did everything. Everybody was having dream sequences. Stop it.
They were
Those
very
dumb.
bandwagony show.
Ugh. I hated that. So my biggest complaint about the show was obviously season 9. It was too much in too short of a time frame, and none of it made sense. Individually, if they'd stuck with one, it would have been better. But overall, a lot of the storylines they tried to push through in season 9, they didn't make sense because they didn't pepper it in. They didn't lead up to it. It was just like, bam, it's here. And the transitions. I hated the transitions in 8 and 9. They did it in both seasons. It was stupid. I did not like them. So I think that's all I got.
One complaint that I have.
Ooh, yay.
Okay. It's a tiny little complaint. So we introduced this whole segment in season 8 where Jamie likes baseball. He's not really even
He
that
goes to
into basketball. Okay, so I get that he then in season 9 decides I'm gonna break my dad's scoring record.
Stupid.
Okay, my man. Like we can tell by looking at you right now that you're projected to be like 5'6". You're not breaking any scoring records. Like
No.
that's okay. I wish that final scene had
What about
been
baseball?
the baseball field.
Yeah.
I think it still would have translated just the same.
Mhm.
And maybe even translated better that Jamie was not required to follow in his father's footsteps this way.
Yeah.
But they were still all gathered there watching the baseball game. That is like the one. Oh, and I mean, Alex should have been there. Those are my complaints. That's it about the final episode.
Yeah. It still would have brought it full circle. He's breaking sports records, just not his dad's. That would bring it full circle, but also breaking a cycle where Nathan felt like he had to, and where Jamie is just doing it because he's got good parents, but it's in different sports.
Yeah,
Also,
I think that would have been better.
Season 8 should have been the series finale.
With the only thing is the reason I like the addition of Logan. I just do. And I like we didn't get to see Brooke be a mom until Brooke and Julia did not get to be parents until, and we needed to see Dan get his redemption. So I think there are good things that happen in season 9.
There are.
I just wish they'd given him a full season because I don't dislike any of the storylines if they could have had a full 24 episodes to make the storylines work.
See, I don't like the storylines because they didn't have enough.
Well, that's what I think they could have, like, if we had had more time.
It's like, I agree with Jeanette, but then in that case, I wish they didn't make the season 8 finale feel like a really good finale.
Yes.
I agree.
If they knew that they wanted to, because the way that season 8 ends, it feels like, to me anyway, that they thought that was the end.
Well, it was probably like a lot of shows where they just hadn't been renewed for season 9 yet. And so they went, which I appreciate that because I also hate it when shows don't wrap things up when things are up in the air and then you're just left with a season finale where things are not wrapped up. So I'm kind of glad they did it so that just in case we would have had a good ending. But like I said, I'm okay with, I liked what we got from Dan. I liked getting to see Brooke and Julian actually be parents. Like, there were lots of good things. And like I said, I like the addition of Logan. I think Clay being a dad is a really cute storyline. I really enjoy it, actually. So
I think I do like Clay as a dad. I like the addition of Logan in theory. I think they did it poorly. And so that makes me not,
Well,
that
but
makes
that's
me
what
not
I mean.
for
I
it.
think had they had a whole nother like 11 episodes to flesh out the storyline, I think it could have been done better.
But even that, I think Logan should have been, that's my issue, is that he should have been peppered in from the moment we meet Clay.
Well,
He should have
maybe.
been peppered in with hints here and there because the fugue state very suddenly doesn't make sense. Even if he had another 11 episodes, it was too abrupt for me. But that's just for me. And I think like with season 8 finale, I get wrapping up things. I like how they wrap things up, but they left it open except for they tied in Jamie being Lucas with the basketball across the railroad bridge.
Yeah.
Leave that out, man. If you're uncertain, but you will continue if you get renewed, don't put that in there.
Yeah.
Because then it was too final with that only
Yeah.
because that's the very first thing we see in the last. So it's that scene shouldn't have been in there if they didn't want it to be final. So then adding more on felt like, why are you doing this? Because you wrapped it up so completely. But again, there are things that I do like. I forgot about Brooke and Julian being parents. Those in season. Again, I watched these back to back. So and there's
You
only
wouldn't have
13 of
seen it 'cause
9. Exactly.
All we saw in season 8 was literally them on the couch holding the babies, and that's all we would have seen.
And so it felt for me because I watched them so smushed together. I forget that happened in season 9, not 8.
Yeah.
And also, Brooke Davis is the only woman alive who is brave enough and can pull off wearing a white lace dress while holding 2 newborn babies.
Our babies are
Nope.
good.
My babies would have crapped all over me and thrown up on me. There's just nope.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So what?
No.
What is your guys' grades for these seasons and also overall?
I mean, all mine are the same, man. Season 8's and I don't know, A plus. Season 9's an A. Like, I'm okay. Like, I like these don't get different grades for me. Like, One Tree Hill as a whole is an A plus show for me.
One Tree Hill overall is an A plus show for me. 8 and 9 are not my favorite seasons, and I have you guys know this about me. But 8, I would give 8 a B plus, and I would give 9 a B. I couldn't stand 9. We got some good moments out of 9. We got
I'm
some
trying to
good
remember. I
laughable.
don't think
I
I gave
laughed a
but-
lot in 9.
Yeah, we got good moments in 9. It just
Yeah.
the storyline. All the storylines. I just hated them. I think
They didn't
don't-
make
I wish
sense
we
the
didn't have
rapidity
9.
with which they happened.
I
because
like
I still love that we get more from our characters. Like these people that we love, we still get some more of. Which if we didn't have 9, we wouldn't get more of it. But at the same time, it just makes me mad that
Without
what we
9,
did get just wasn't like its best.
without 9, we would have never had a Chase and Chris Keller friendship, guys.
I know. That's why I'm like, there's
We
there's
need
good things in
this.
9. I wouldn't give it like an F.
This is what I'm saying. I don't think I've given any season below an A. Whether it's like an A minus, like that's fine, but like they're all A.
I have.
They're all A's. This is my favorite probably show ever. Like,
All right, Eve,
Yeah.
what's your grade?
A plus for season 8 because it's one of my favorites. I think 7 and 8 are my favorites. And then for 9, just a solid B. We got some good stuff. We saw a lot of good things, but it's just the way it was done is just what turns me off.
It was the writing and the production that ruined 9.
I agree.
It wasn't anything to do with the acting.
No, because I laughed a lot. I laughed more in season 9 than I did in any other show. And that's saying something since 90% of season 9 was all about Nathan being kidnapped by a Russian mob. But I laughed a lot. And I got Dan Scott. So there are things I like about it, but I think it was too poorly done. Even though I liked a lot of it, I think it should have been done better. I think as directors, as writers, as producers, they should have looked at it and said, okay, we only have 13 episodes to make sense of this.
Yeah.
Let's make an effort to make it make sense. And I don't think they did that. And that's my issue with 9. So I think I would give 9 probably a B, maybe a B minus. And I think season 8, because the transitions were absolutely maddening. And I hyper focused on that because it was in every single episode and it was irritating. I would give it a B or B plus. I think season 7 was my favorite.
I can see that.
that's my favorite too.
I think overall, I'm not going to rate this show as high as you guys do. I'm going to give it a B plus overall because I will never watch seasons 1 through 4 again. I hated
take
those.
it.
I hated
As-
seasons 1
as-
through 4.
as hard as you were pushing back about not wanting to watch the show,
Honestly,
I
that was
will
more
take
fun
a
for me.
B plus.
And honestly, I even support the never watching 1 through 4 again because I watched season
I-
1 because I like it just because of the early nailing.
Introductions.
But I usually skip straight to season 6, or at least like halfway. And I usually skip to season 5, but then I get bored with that. And then about halfway through that, I jump on over to season 6 because I need Julian in my life. So like that's what happens every time I watch it. Anyways,
I've watched season 9 maybe twice in my life, and
I
I've
realized
watched
I hadn't
season
seen season
8
9.
like maybe 3 times, maybe 3 times. Usually I stop after 7 and I go back to 1.
But you don't get to see Julian and Brooke get married
I don't
then.
think
I
she
don't
cares.
Super
Eve,
rude.
you do something similar too, don't you? Where you just skip 9?
I watched season 1 because, like Jeanette said, I love like the early stuff. It's nice just
Yeah.
to be reminded. It's like, oh, this is who
Mhm.
they were, at
Mhm.
the beginning.
Going back after you finish and watch
But
season
then
1 again, it's just ugh.
After that, I get bored and then I skip ahead to season 5.
Mhm.
And then sometimes, and then if I feel like it, I'll watch season 9. And then sometimes I'll just be like, yeah, never mind. I think I'm good.
Mhm.
I do think I probably quit. I realized this time I had not seen season 9 as many times as I've seen the others because there was stuff I forgot. So
Maybe that's why you liked it more this time.
maybe.
I am
think-
gonna watch it this time. I just haven't finished yet.
I think for me, if you've never watched One Tree Hill before, don't skip seasons 1 through 4. You kind of need them.
No.
It's background
Yeah.
information. And so I'm glad I watched it from that perspective, that I have the background information. I'm also glad that now that I have it, I never have to watch them again. It just, I did not like them at all. That was my biggest pushback. And like you guys said, and I said, I will like it more when they're adults acting like adults instead of teenagers acting like adults. And I think
Mhm.
if I had watched this when I was in high school or even early college, I probably would feel different about seasons 1 through 4. But I'm a 40-year-old woman watching this going, there is no freaking way any of that would be possible. And so I just I couldn't break from that. So just because I can't watch the whole thing, Gilmore Girls, I watch season 1 through season 7 and even the stupid A Year in the Life once a year. I will watch it
I
all.
only watched that once.
A+ for me because I will watch all of it. I will never rewatch all of this again. And I don't even know that I'll rewatch the back half, but I liked the back half. I enjoyed myself with the back half. So that's why it gets
I get.
that's for me.
I was
Right.
trying to look up because I was curious when between 8 and 9. Maybe this is also why like I absolutely like had to have a season 9. Between 8 and 9 is when I visited Wilmington.
Oh, really?
And,
I didn't know you
got
ever
to
went there.
Yeah. Oh, have you not seen all my photos?
No.
I have photos. David and I have sat at like Naley's bench, like where they
I
did
want
the
to go to
Cracker Jack
Wilmington.
thing. We've got pictures in front of Close Over Bros. I like when I went because it was still filming, I got to tour the set. So like we could take any pictures in there. They weren't filming, it was during the summer.
Oh, I was gonna
But,
say
like-
you met them.
No, that'd be great. But like I've been inside Brooke and Julian's house and Nathan and Haley's like living room and like all of that stuff. Like 'cause the
That was
sets were
something
all-
I liked with the soundstage because I
Mhm.
think that was actually their soundstage, wasn't it?
It might have been because the soundstage just uses the same one like Dawson's Creek and stuff used. Like
But I like how they put that into the show,
Mhm.
that they ended it with them touring the soundstage, which I'm assuming was their soundstage because it all looked very similar.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I thought that was a nice little tie-in. I like
Yeah,
that
that's
ending
cool.
better than I like Jamie playing basketball, which I don't think he should have been playing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
I agree.
All right,
I'm
so
gonna bombard you with all my photos here. in a little while.
so that was our last and final review of One Tree Hill. I've seen it all. I don't need to watch it again. I might at some point. Don't give me that look.
It's fine. I'm just
There-
disappointed. I'm just disappointed.
There
That's
are shows that are so good to me, but they're too heavy and dramatic that I can't rewatch them often. Like Handmaid's Tale, I think that is such a phenomenal show. I cannot
I
watch
can't
more than
rewatch
half
it.
of one of those a time, and I will
I agree.
never rewatch it
No,
because
I
it's
can't.
too heavy. Granted, One Tree Hill is not that as heavy as The Handmaid's Tale by
Mhm.
any stretch of the imagination, but that's how I get with dramas. I will rewatch lighthearted things over and over and over and over again. Dramas, it's
Mhm.
harder for me to rewatch, even though they could be fantastic. It's harder for me to rewatch a drama. So that is my last one, our last one of this. Hopefully we can, while I'm watching this, it put a fire under me like, let's start reaching out to some of these actors and see if we can get them on the show. So hopefully we'll get some interviews with some of the One Tree Hill cast on here. That would be great. That would be phenomenal. I would love that. I would love to pick their brains, especially since it's so fresh. Paul Johansson, if you are listening to this, please, please, please say yes when we ask you for an interview because I would love to talk with you and tell you I don't hate you because you were Dan Scott. I, in fact, love you because you were Dan Scott. So there you go. Stay tuned next week where you will be getting another review. It'll be of The Way Home. Get caught up on that. You can watch that on Peacock. Okay, Peacock and Prime if you have a Hallmark subscription. Is that right?
Yeah,
Are those the
I
only two
think
places you can
so.
watch them?
I think so.
And Hallmark,
sure.
obviously, if you have a Hallmark subscription, if you have a Hallmark subscription, you can watch it on Hallmark. But that new season 2, is coming out January 21st. So get caught up on that. We're bringing you that review next week. And check out our Facebook group, which is One Tree Hill Scott Family Fan Club on Facebook. Let us know what you think of this. If you agree with my assessment of it, if you agree with everybody else's assessment of it, I'm assuming if you're in that group, you probably think the show is an A+ show. So maybe tell me why I'm wrong. I'm not going to agree with you because I don't know if you guys can read what my cup says, but it says, I may be wrong, but that's highly unlikely. So, and my podcast team got this for me. So just saying, let me know why you think I'm wrong and I'll debate you. Okay. On that note, we'll see you real soon. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Loving our content? Subscribe to our YouTube channel and don't forget to share our podcast with your family and friends. We want to continue the conversation with you. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, or TikTok under Fandom Family Chats, or one of our ever-growing Facebook groups by searching Family Fan Club. We've also launched a website, Family Fan Club 2021 at Wixsite.com. You can email us there and keep checking it for announcements and merch coming soon. And of course, be sure to tune in every week for new episodes discussing all your favorite shows.